Your consultations are falling flat. You're bringing clients in, you're having these great consultations, or so you think, and they're leaving and then ghost. You hear nothing. Let me be honest, it's not your pricing and it's not that they're just shopping around. So many wedding pros make this one mistake in their consultations. And in this episode, I'm going to be breaking down exactly what it is that you're doing that's causing your clients to ghost and 3 simple tweaks that you can do to your consultations today to start consistently booking those 5-figure months every single time. Okay, so the very first thing we want to do is understand what a consultation is. And I see this being one of the biggest mistakes that are made in our industry because we think that a sales consultation is an opportunity to just tell them all the things about ourselves and to just kind of vomit information about our bullet points. In reality, a consultation is simply a conversation where you're understanding exactly what it is that this couple sitting in front of you needs, what their pain points are, what's been hard for them in planning their wedding and getting music for their wedding and the photographs for their wedding. You're really wanting to understand what is it that they want out of their biggest day. And then you're going to simply provide the best solution for that. So many wedding pros spend the bulk of the time in the consultation speaking, talking about what you can do, talking about your different packages, talking about your bullet points, talking about your awards. And here's the thing. They don't care. They're coming there because they want to understand, are you the best fit for them? And so you have to first understand what is it that they're looking for, and then you have to guide them to the best service that you have to fill that pain point. The second you start to understand that sales is nothing more than providing a solution to someone else's needs, the easier it will become to have these consultations that feel so smooth and exciting for both parties and ultimately always end in an absolute yes. Now that we know what a consultation is, the first thing I want you to do is I want you to understand that at least 70% of the time in your consultation should be spent listening. And I know you're thinking, but how am I supposed to tell them all about our services and all about us? Here's the thing. If your marketing has done its job, by the time they're sitting in front of you for a consultation, they have already learned a lot about you. You guys, we are in the age of technology where our couples can go on our website, they can go on our social media, they can look up so much information about us. They've likely been following you for a while now because by the time that they book a consultation, you've made the short list. They've already decided that they like your work, they like what they've seen online, they've likely seen your pricing because you should have it on your website, transparent for them to see. And by the time they get here, this is just kind of a one-time conversation that they want to have to make sure you're legit, to make sure you're as cool in person as you are on your Instagram, right? And so that's all you're doing here is you want to listen because they already know about you and now it's your turn to learn about them, right? So you want to ask lots of questions. I like to start my consultations by kind of just asking broad questions about how they met, how they started dating, when the proposal happened, if they both knew the proposal was going to happen, kind of just getting them engaged in talking so that they can start to let that guard down because they're fully aware they've walked into a sales conversation. They've come here to make a decision to see if you are the best person for them. And so what we want to do is we want to just kind of get that tension away. We want to just start to begin that trust process. So we want to ask them questions. We want to get them talking about things they feel really comfortable about, which is typically talking about themselves. They want to tell you about their proposal story, about their dating. Then we're going to start to try to shift those questions into things like, okay, so how did you pick your wedding date? How did you pick your venue if they have one? Tell me what's important about your big day. Is there anything that could happen at your wedding that would make it absolutely awful, that would make you think, I just want to crawl under a table? We're trying to narrow the gap, right? We're trying to understand exactly what it is that they're looking for in what you do. So you really want to understand what feels hard for them or what are things that would just make them panic if it happened at their wedding, because you really want to understand what is it that they need from me as the pro sitting in front of them. You're going to spend 70% of the time talking about them and asking them questions. Okay, the next step is to sell to the pain points, not to the bullet points. And what I mean by this is too often we grab out our packages or we pull up our computer when we get to the sales portion of the consultation and we start going through things like, I'll be there for 8 hours. This is the kind of equipment that I use. This is the emergency kit that I bring. No one cares because at the end of the day, ultimately, most of the pros in your area that they're comparing you to really all provide the same thing, right? Like I'm a planner, and ultimately, most of the planners in my market are providing a similar thing. Do I think I'm better at it? Yeah, I do. But I still am ultimately providing the same bullet points as everyone else in my market, right? So I don't want to sell to the bullet points. I want to sell to the pain points. And what that means is I want to guide the client sitting in front of me to the best solution that I have for what they're looking for. This is why that listening step is massively important, because now they've told me everything I need to know to sell them into the best service that I have for them. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm a planner. So if I have a client that's sitting in front of me and they are telling me that their venue requires them to have a planner, so they're definitely looking for at least event management, but they're also like, what's been so overwhelming for me is that I just have so many ideas. I feel like Pinterest is almost overwhelming because I just have so much on there. My ideas are all over the place and I'm not even really sure how to pull together a cohesive design. That's my ultimate in to say partial planning is going to be the best fit for you. I'm not going to go through all three of my packages because the other two packages don't make sense for them. They don't need full service because they are very much able to handle a lot of the planning themselves. But if I sell them event management, they're still going to be overwhelmed by the design process, right? So I want to speak directly to that pain point and I want to say, great, our partial planning service sounds like it would be the best fit for you. It includes the event management, which is what your venue requires, but it also allows us to step in and help you to really pull together that cohesive design. And then we're going to help you source the best vendors to pull that design together so that you take all the guesswork out of that design phase of your planning. How does that sound? Immediately, the guard goes down because they're like, yes, that's what I need. They don't need to make a decision at this point because I've told them exactly how we would serve that pain point that they have. So in this step, what you're really looking to do is to make sure that you're selling exactly to their pain points and not to those bullet points. No one cares about exactly how you're going to get it done. They just want to know what the outcome of that service that you're going to provide is. The next step in assuming the sale, making sure that you close that consultation every single time, is to give them a safe space to have objections, right? So now if you've done your consultation correctly, you've really gotten their guard down, you've gotten to know them, you kind of are becoming besties, you've let them know that you have the perfect solution to their pain points, and then you want to offer the space for them to have objections because you want those objections to come out right there in the consultation and not wait until they get home because that's when they end up ghosting, right? So you want to answer those objections right there. So you're going to say something like, okay, so we've talked about a lot today, and I know that choosing the best planner or the best DJ or the best photographer for you is a really big decision. So are there any questions that you have for me about what we do? I love asking the question this way because it allows them to really kind of go anywhere with that question, right? And a lot of times they'll say either, no, I think you've answered all of our questions, or sometimes they'll say, well, we're a little bit nervous about the budget because it is a little bit more expensive than what we had expected to spend in this area. Great, let's talk about that. Or they might say something like, we really wanted to have 10 hours of photography that day, but it looks like your packages only include 8. What can we do to get there, right? Then you can start talking about their timeline and how you can make the package work. You want to open the door for them to be able to give you any objections right there in the consultation so that you can handle them there. Because if you just close it down right after presenting the solution, then they're not going to have that opportunity. They're going to go home and they're going to almost feel ashamed or afraid to come back to you and say, hey, we have some concerns. I want to address all the concerns right there so that in this next step that we're going to talk about, it's an immediate yes. This last step is to simply assume the sale. So now you've gotten to know them. Now you know each other. You've let them know that you have the perfect solution to exactly what they're looking for their big day. You've also allowed them the opportunity to tell you if there's anything that they feel reserved about without really pushing them to do so. And this last step is all in your confidence. It's all in understanding that you are so excited to work with them and you cannot wait to be part of their wedding day. So what I want you to do in this step is I want you to paint yourself into their wedding day, and I want you to assume that you're going to be the one that's working with them. So I want you to say something like, Sally and Mark, I cannot wait to see the two of you on the dance floor all night long with your guests. We are going to be mixing right from one song into the other. It is going to be such an epic party. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and send a contract over. It'll come over via email. Take a look at it, review, you can sign it right online, and then you'll go ahead and be able to pay the retainer. That'll lock you into our calendar. Once you do that, we're going to get started right away and sending you your homework so that we can get started on your music choices. Sound good? That is how you're going to assume the sale. You've painted yourself into their big day. You've spoken about exactly what they wanted. They wanted an epic party. You're painting yourself into the picture of how that epic party is going to come to life. You're telling them the next steps. You're not asking if they're ready for the next steps. You're assuming that they are because you've done all the pre-work, and you're just telling them this is the next step to lock into our calendar, and then this is what'll happen. We don't go into things like the retainer is 30% or here's the different payment methods that we take. If they ask those questions, you can certainly answer them. But what you're trying to do is just get to the end result here. When they get that contract, they're going to be so excited to sign it and move on to the next step because this assume method ends in a genuine win for both parties. You're genuinely excited to work with them, and they're genuinely excited to have you be the pro that's going to help bring their vision to life. Okay, CEO, this was a super quick episode because I wanted to make sure to be able to just show you exactly the difference in what you're doing now and how you can get a much higher conversion rate by focusing on connecting and giving them that really unique service that you provide for their pain point. I want you to focus on that over selling. I don't want you to think about this as a sales conversation. I want you to think about it as a connection. And if you want to learn more about how I book consistently 5 figures into my wedding business every single month, I want you to head over to brandygar.com/free training. I have a complete walkthrough of the exact strategy that we use, and I'm going to show you the only sales strategy that you need to double your wedding bookings within 30 days. I'm telling you, immediately you will start to see results. I see it hundreds of times when I'm working with my students, exactly how to start converting those consultations into paying clients right away. CEO, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you know every single time we drop a new episode so you can grow and scale your profitable wedding business. And hey, YouTube thinks you'll like this video next, so I'll see you on the next one.